This is Robotron 2084 on the Atari 7800. Two great numbers that go well together. And not to sound all cheesy and emotional and lame, but this game holds a special place in my heart because this is the first version of Robotron 2084, one of my favorite games that I ever played. Back in the day in 1986 or 1987, when I was fortunate enough to get an Atari 7800, I spent hours parked in front of our old 13-inch kitchen television. Remember those really old ones that had knobs on the front? You'd get them like Sears or something. Had to use the RF adapter, and the thing had an antenna. The first couple games I had for my 7800 were Robotron 2084, Joust, and Xevious. And I loved this game. I played this all the time. I don't remember how good I was or how far I got. I didn't get to spend a lot of time in the arcades because, I couldn't drive there or anything. So I was definitely one of the first generations of American kids to grow up with home video game consoles. And this is one of the games I played the most, so I have very fond memories of it. And there's some differences right away from this version and the Xbox Live version, and also the PlayStation version we're getting to here on Classic Game Room HD. The graphics are tremendous. I mean, they're not as good as they are on the newer consoles, because there's an awful lot going on in Robotron 2084. But you can clearly make out the family, the man, the woman, and the child, and all the different enemies that you have to slaughter. It's pretty obvious why this game was not made for the Atari 2600, or at least one of the reasons why is I don't think it would look very good at all, because you couldn't have gotten this kind of detail and this many enemies on screen at one time. This version of the game also has 4 different levels. You have Novice, Intermediate, Advanced, Expert, and there's also a challenge. I actually forget what the challenge level was all about, but I'm playing on the Intermediate level here just so I could rock through the game. And as I said in some of the previous reviews on Robotron 2084, I think this is one of the most difficult, challenging games ever made. And as an arcade game, this is brilliant because this must have eaten so many quarters from people who play these quick Robotron 2084 games and kept coming back for more because it was so much fun. In the intermediate gameplay mode here, the enemies come at you a bit slower, the tanks don't spawn as quickly, and it's pretty easy to wipe out the brains on the brain levels and then collect all the humans, so you get a lot more extra lives. The advanced and the expert levels are, as you might expect, a good bit more difficult, and bring the game back up to the level that you would normally play it at in the arcade or on the Xbox Live or PlayStation versions. On the Atari 7800, you could either play this game with one controller or 2 controllers. With one controller, you would only fire in the direction that you were moving, which kind of defeats the entire purpose of Robotron 2084. With 2 controllers, you can play the normal way. One controller to move, one controller to fire. If you've watched my Atari 7800 vs. PlayStation 3 review, you saw what the Atari 7800 controllers over here in the United States looked like, so this was not an easy game to play with 2 controllers. Capturing the footage for this review, I used a Sega Genesis controller in the left hand, and then the Atari 7800 controller in my right hand, which was pretty big. I mean, this thing's actually a very difficult controller to use with one hand, so I don't even remember how I did this when I was a kid. But once you get over the awkwardness of playing with 2 controllers, this is a good version of Robotron 2084, and worth checking out if you have the old Atari console and like to get back into the old Atari games. Also, as I mentioned, it's a good bit easier than the standard versions of Robotron 2084, so if you're just starting out with the game and you want to practice, this might be a great version to do that on. The Atari 7800 is built like a tank, so I thoroughly expect this game to also continue working in the year 2084. I don't know why everyone's all worried about the environment now. I mean, it's not going to matter. In the year 2084, we're all going to be running from our lives from killer robots anyway. We'll have bigger problems to worry about than going green. Fuck that. Just give me a bigger gun. I got to shoot robots.